And okay, we are live. We'll be right back. I have to play a couple of commercials to get us started if I can find them. All right.
Hello, everyone. I'm Falana Milburn, aka Lady Falana. I am the CEO and founder of Endure Entertainment LLC. One may ask, what makes Endure Entertainment different? We actually show you our hearts and our genuine concern for people of all walks of life, their well being, their quality of life. We provoke thought, we inspire, we provide many solutions to the problems of ordinary people like ourselves. And we provide you a chat platform wherein you can ask questions, express your viewpoints, experiences, or if you just want to say hi. Introducing the Endure Entertainment Television Network family, Renee Rodriguez, Anjanette Wilson, Michelle Jackson, yours truly, Lady Falana, Evangelist Corey Thomas, Deborah Price, and Goodlow Napier III. The Endure Entertainment Television Network, we have been featured by CBS, Fox, and NBC 2021. We have been nominated by the Gospel Choice Music Awards for Independent Broadcast Network of the Year 2022 and 2023. Television isn't all that Endure Entertainment is known for. We are also known worldwide for our virtual events. We hold our virtual events at the Hub. We have the respect of independent artists and ministries around the world. We are seen and heard in 26 countries outside of the U.S. Our television shows and our virtual events are syndicated on all of the major podcast directories: Spreaker, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Deezer, and many more. We have a strong social media presence: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch TV. Right now, I want you to go to endureentertainment.live.
All right, just a couple more, and we'll be back with you in a moment.
Author Evangelist Corey Thomas, a dedicated servant leader whose weapons are spiritual in nature and volatile in impact. Hot off the press, author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice: Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Matthew 5:13, ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It's author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice: Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Purchase your copy to help maintain that flavor in your spiritual walk. This book is epic. It's sold on every major online bookstore, or go to CoreyThomasMinistries.com. I got my copy. Be sure to get yours. It's author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice: Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Get your copy today.
All right, I think I did everything I'm supposed to. I don't know, but anyway, welcome back. It's been a while since I've done it live, mostly because I stay buried in books and all that good stuff. But I wanted to introduce my friend Olivia Boggs here. I believe, Olivia, we've been talking since I've been sober anyway, so a couple of years, or it seems like it anyway. Yeah. Okay, well, tonight I just wanted to cover your story and how you're feeling and whatever you want to talk about. And we can just question each other back and forth.
Okay, cool.
Make it real easy. All right. So what are you grateful for today? I guess is a good thing to ask here.
I'm super grateful to be sober today, to be here with family. I'm in Georgia now with my mom's side of the family, who I'm just now getting to know. So it's interesting, and it's been a blessing.
Okay, that's a story that I've got to hear at some point there. That's awesome. Do you like Georgia compared to Kentucky?
I love Georgia.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
I didn't want to, but it's grew on me.
Okay. And you left from where? Were you in London?
I
Where
was
did
in
you?
London when I left. Yeah.
Okay. Cool enough. Well, let's hear, I guess, about your journey, whichever one you want to start with. If it's recently or what got you to where you are and where you are with God at this point in life.
Okay. Well, as you know, I had like 3.5 years sober.
Yeah.
And my husband relapsed. I guess this was last year or the year before. He relapsed in August.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I tried really hard to stay strong. I tried to get him into rehab, try to help him because at that point he absconded probation. I mean, it just he
Oh,
just went downhill fast.
yeah.
And so I think you, along with some other people who cared about me, told me to tread lightly, that was a slippery slope. And sure enough, so I guess it was about 6 months later, I just got tired of him sneaking around and leaving and all that good stuff. It was kind of hurting my feelings and
Yeah.
relapsing.
Well, the truth is, if you don't have any trust and you've got to worry about that all the time, and you've got, two people who are basically sponsoring each other.
Yeah.
I'd live that way in North Carolina. The girl I was with 7 years before I came back here was just subscribing to each other's BS, and that's what it boiled down to. Is it's
Yeah.
who's the drunkest, or the one's going to accuse you're worse drunk than me. No, no, I can prove that. So
Yeah.
that stuff. That's what happened. So, but I'm glad you got out of it. I remember you looking around for him and where to go or something. I believe. Um,
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
a
That
long
was a
time.
nightmare.
Okay, well that's good. But you're past it now.
I'm past it. Yeah.
Okay.
Praise God. So I
Yeah.
relapsed and I really about didn't make it out. It wasn't
Okay.
like I done it here and there. I was working as a peer support specialist at a Suboxone clinic while messing up. And so
That's hard.
that is hard. That is hard, but I'll be really transparent about it.
Yeah, and that's the best way to be. I can't identify with the using with the drug so much, but I would ways you try and hide your alcohol is the same thing. You're like, I'm drinking vodka. I mean, just the silly stuff. But
Yeah.
somebody's always going to notice, and it's generally those people who are truly your friends, are truly close to you, or something.
Yeah.
Who's going to notice? Everybody else will just talk about it. So, go ahead there.
So I was using and working at the clinic. That didn't last long because my husband was also using, and I thought that me using with him, maybe he wouldn't sneak out and run off on me and stuff. But of course he did. So I was like having to miss work and go find him. And it
The
just
stress.
yeah. And then at that point I was like, well, because I wasn't doing it the way I'm an IV user.
Okay.
And so I wasn't doing it that way yet. And so in my mind, I'm doing on the weekends. Not using IV.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help my husband in some sick way. That was how I made it in my head, And so it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Yeah.
That was my addiction talking. That's just me justifying things.
Not really. And I mean, it's somewhat justifiable, but not. It's still the situation you don't want to be in. But when you're trapped there, and the amount of stress that you're having that goes into that, then that's going to add to some depression. And when you've not really got another outlet, and that's your husband that you're, having to go through this with, where are you going to go?
Yeah. Yeah. It was very difficult. And so I isolate. So I worked with a counselor and a doctor, and I looked up to those people. They were like the last people I wanted to disappoint.
Sure.
So of course, I didn't turn to them. I kind of pushed them farther away. I ended up quitting my job. I left my husband, lost my apartment because of the drama with my husband, and then moved into a trailer park with my dad, who is also a very bad alcoholic, but he's in rehab right now. Praise God. So
Okay. Yeah, that is good.
awesome.
Praise God. Yeah. Yeah. So with that, when you were after you decided you wanted to quit, how long was that into the relapse? When you were just like, I can't do this anymore.
It It was so I relapsed in January, and in August the 18th is when I come to Georgia.
Okay.
So that I used that morning before I hit the road with my aunt, and they come pick me up. So right before that, I actually a week and a half prior to me leaving, this guy who we was just all messed up and stuff, and he beat me. He wore my head out. I'll just say that.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so then, like 3 days prior to me coming to Georgia, before I even knew I was coming to Georgia, I got into an altercation with this woman in London, and she ended up taking some pretty good licks on me with a baseball bat. And so like my whole arm was messed up. My wrist is broken. Like it was crazy. It looked rough. But at that, I had also started messing around with heroin.
Okay.
Which was something I hated for the longest time. And so I knew then, and like different people, one of my good friends, Ron, messaged me, and he told me that, he felt led to message me and to just check on me. And I kind of just like, I was like, I'm not okay. And he's like, well, what are we going to do about it? And I'm like, I don't know.
So, yeah, that was always my answer too. I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't want to do anything about it. Honestly, I just like felt so like I was very ashamed of myself to go from having 3.5 years sober to just losing everything in no time. I was like,
the amount of stress that you were going through right there. I mean, I know you cared about your husband, because when you would write me, you didn't want to leave him, but him getting better and the promises that he's going to get better, right?
Yeah.
And then it's the same old thing. So you're going through like a cycling constantly of the same thing. It's like a circle. You're just coming back around to the same place over and over again. And I do get that. And that's the thing where you can't be ashamed of yourself for having a breakdown. But the killer part with me that I realized about you, when you told me about it, was it didn't last very long for you to, go from your 3.5 years to going back out but coming right back on your own accord, which to me is impressive, because a lot of people don't do that. And I know you and I touched on it, but one thing that I really want to put a stop to in our recovery community is the shaming stuff, because you shouldn't have had to feel ashamed. You should have been able to reach out and say, like when your friend called you, but say, yeah, I'm not all right. Yeah, I need help, but not be ashamed about it. It just makes the whole situation.
It's difficult. So like with him, I could, but I know that there's I have some other friends in recovery who like, I can't. Like they knew I wasn't okay, and a lot of them had messaged me and like asked me to come back to the rehab, told me I could come back. I was always welcome there.
Yeah.
Which was nice, but like I spent 2 years there, and that was like the last. I have no reason other than I just didn't want to spend no more time. That wasn't for me. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm capable. I just want a chance. I lost everything, and I just need a little help, but I don't want to have to go through a 6-month program.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense, and especially with your surroundings there, it sounds like in the program that would be triggering itself. It seems like that would be taking a walk of shame, which should never happen in recovery, but it does. I mean, I get people all the time that talk about how dumb I am to recovery, et cetera, et cetera. We're all going to get that. And it's what you do is walking away from the shame. I'm a little bit more. I tend to yell back at people. I'll put it that way, but that doesn't always make it better. And the fact that you went to Georgia to get better, and it worked is pretty cool. Most people are so afraid to leave, and any of us originally from, I grew up in Lexington, but I'm from Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
And, I would be there pretty much all summer, every summer. And, for people that don't get out of Eastern Kentucky, when I try and explain this to people, they don't understand it, but people who don't get out never get out. Yeah. You've got a lot of generations of people that have been there in the mountains
and have never left.
Yep. 100%. That was my dad's family. So, I mean, they had all 5 of them lived in a holler. So,
Yeah.
You know, I
And so,
don't
like,
get
I
it.
did move around. I grew up out west. I did all my schooling in Arizona and New Mexico.
Okay, okay.
But I'd been back in Kentucky since 2010. My son is still in Kentucky. I have some family still in Kentucky. My dad as well, he sets the sun, the moon, and the stars in my eyes. Even though
Okay,
this summer we were using together and things got pretty bad, and I could
sure.
not be more thankful than him
That's
finding recovery right now. You know what I mean? At the same
yeah.
time as me. But
Yeah, 100%. That gives you strength in family numbers there because no matter where he's at and you're both in recovery, if he's in Kentucky and you're there, you can still, pray for each other and talk to each other and say, "Hey, this is going good." So,
yeah,
any plans? What are you going to do? Stay in Georgia?
yeah, I didn't want to at first. So like when they found out that I'd got beat up with that baseball bat, I mean it was rough. If any of those, I was protecting my head like this, so if any of those hits would have hit me in the head, I probably wouldn't be here today. Is how bad it was.
That's awful.
And so my mom, who I didn't know her growing up or this
Uh,
side of the family. Like I had vague memories from when I was a child, and they lived in West Virginia, and
okay.
they were all very traumatic. Um, for the most part, very traumatic. And so, like,
Yeah.
I couldn't even remember what she looked at point. And so I don't know this lady. I say lady, but it's my mother,
Yeah.
hardly at all, And she's like, just let us come get you. Then my Aunt Mickey started messaging me, and she would not let up. She was sending me Bible verses, worship songs, and it was tugging at my heart because she knows that's, I love the Lord.
Yeah.
Even when I'm not okay, I love the Lord.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I guess I'm going to come. But then they ended up coming the night prior to the day that they were supposed to come.
hmm
And I put her off because I was wanting to find some drugs to bring with me because I was like, there's no way I can quit cold turkey.
Yeah.
I was scared to leave my son. I was like an emotional wreck. I was beat up.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to find some drugs that night to bring with me. And usually it's not a problem for me. And I could
Yeah.
not find nothing that night. All
Okay.
night I couldn't find nothing. And I forgot I gave them my address. So I woke up, I fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning to them beating on the door. Pulled right up to the trap house. My
Wow.
uncle, my aunt, and my mother, who I hadn't seen in so many years, from
Yeah.
Georgia,
Yeah.
ready to whoop a dozen of them, to get me out of there. So I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta go.
Yeah. They've never messed with the Kentucky and West Virginia people, right?
I'm telling you. And so I went. I wasn't willing to at first. And I told her, I was like, she's like, just come 2 weeks. And if you don't like it, she said, you are not, I will take you back anytime you want to go back.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, how about a week? Because 2 weeks sounds a little scary to me. And then now I'm here 3 months now, and I love it. I'm getting ready to start a new job that makes better money than I've ever made personally. And
Okay.
so
What are
I'm
you doing?
I'll be locating utilities. That's what my aunt does. And so it makes good money.
It makes good money, and for those of us that are dumb enough to dig in our yards and break a line, yeah, I
They
understand
come
the
in
need.
handy.
Yeah, seriously, I know I've done that before in North Carolina, so that was a long
Yeah.
time ago. But that's the way it goes. So, are you done working in recovery, or are you just gonna fight for recovery, or?
I'm gonna fight for recovery. I wouldn't say I'm done. If I could find something, that paid decent, the cost of living here is a little bit higher, I believe,
Yeah, yeah,
than in Kentucky, than where I was at in Kentucky. So I want to make sure that I can maintain myself. But I'm all for, like, I love their church that they have up here. I got baptized in the river with my aunt and my cousin.
I saw those pictures. I was very impressed with that. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, and their pastor, Pastor Ricky, he's been great. Like, I just don't feel, I've never felt uncomfortable there, which means
Okay.
everything to me because I have a lot of social anxiety and I'm a
Yeah.
little bit backwards.
Yeah, well, as somebody who's just like you, I get it.
Yeah.
So that's the way it goes. But it sounds like you've got an awesome support system this time. So that's a little bit different than I don't go by the 12-step model, as you know, but I wouldn't discount my 3.5 years with the time that you were back out there, and you said something that impressed me is you went to a doctor, you went to a therapist, and that's helping correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I worked with one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like they really did, they helped me more than they know. Like when I left my husband, the doctor that I worked with at the clinic,
Hmm.
he took our truck, and so I had no way to get back and forth to work. And so she handed me $2,300 in cash to go get a car that me and her found on Marketplace.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
had that vehicle. Just like, I mean, they were just so supportive of me. And
That's awesome.
yeah, I just, you
They
know,
helped you set goals, and I take it.
yeah,
Okay. Well, that's good stuff. That's called gestalt therapy, which I've just been studying recently and trying to understand. It's interesting, just the way we place things as addicts. And one thing I learned in therapy is to change my language, my vernacular. Like I need to quit saying should have, could have, and would have. And I dealt with childhood trauma. My dad was a beast. I mean, he just liked to beat people up, and me included.
yeah,
However, dealing with that over the last couple of years since I've been sober and going through, when I went through therapy, I went through psychotherapy, in goal setting, much like you're talking about, and that helped me more than anything because I don't struggle with it. I don't have these cravings, and when I was in therapy, when I was in Revive, and everybody already knows my feelings towards Revive, so I don't hide those. Um, it was really just a bad experience. I didn't learn anything. I didn't. I learned about groups again. I guess is the best way to put it. And sorry, I probably confused myself there and tripped twice. But I learned group therapy and how to stick in the program, stick in you go to the meetings, or do the 12 steps, whatever. And that
yeah,
stuff never worked for me. And I'm talking, 26 years of my life that I was in and out of those rooms and doing that stuff. But I also always believed it was never my fault. And that's something that that I really dislike about the AA model myself is when you go into a meeting and everybody's talking, poor me, poor me. And you know what that leads to is pour me another. And I was the king of it. That's how I recognize it so quick because I did it for so many years.
yeah,
And, it's just who we are as addicts. It really is. But,
yeah.
you
We're
know,
manipulative by nature.
sure.
And so I get that. I'm personally extremely ignorant when it comes to AA and NA because the program I went through was, they call it Christ centered.
Is
Um,
that like celebrate recovery? Can you read that?
yeah, not
Okay.
even that. We didn't even do that though. It
Okay.
was
So you just,
all Bible studies. We leaned on the Lord and which I'm not knocking at that
no.
place. I stayed there for 2 years. I walked out my whole 2 years on probation because I took a pretrial diversion deal. I was not court. I
Okay.
went voluntarily. I stayed voluntarily. I was never court ordered to do rehab. Period. But I knew I was homeless. I didn't have a ride back, and I had to report to probation every month for 2 years. Like, there's no way
Oh, wow.
I could have done it on my own, And so,
Yeah, sure.
they really did help me a lot. But I I have no idea about 12 steps. Like, I've read through the books. I've got an NA book right here by my bed.
Okay.
But
It's not a bad thing, as you said, and maintaining your sobriety. But I like that you put your faith because you've mentioned the Lord so many times tonight. I think that makes a good showing of where you come from in it all. And with me, when I talk about, I was sitting in a hospital and they told me and my girlfriend that I had 3 days to live. Um, that's when I quit the pity party and stuff like that. And then soon after that, in the months that followed, I think I prayed or learned how to pray for the first time in my life. And then I'll always say in my testimony, no matter who wants to think I'm the biggest jerk in the world, but that God's the only reason I'm here. That's what put me here. And,
yeah,
that's the reason that I went back to school and that I'm still in school and that I've made a commitment out of it because, we can help each other. Like you helped me when you told me your story,
yeah,
that somebody out there gets it. And I watched your podcast, right. I think a little bit before I met you or something. I don't remember where I saw it. And then you
yeah,
sent it to me as well.
yeah.
Or I may be getting that backwards. I don't know. But
And so, the Lord, that's me too. I'm not at all ashamed. I understand. I'm not ignorant to the fact that other people find recovery in different things and in
Sure.
different ways than I do, and that's okay. But and man, I've been through everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
only
I saw
peace
that
I
first
can ever
interview you did.
find, yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
only peace I've ever been able to find is in the Lord, in
Okay.
Jesus. He's the only thing that's ever gave me any rest. And so, like, he put it on my aunt's heart months prior to them even messaging me, before I even got beat up, before I started dabbling in heroin.
Yeah.
Like, that was God. That
Yeah.
was a God thing. But God, he knew. He's seen me, getting off track.
Yeah.
And she told my aunt or my uncle, she's like, babe, we're going to have to go get her. She's messing up. And he's like, she looks great. Like, she looks fine. And she's like, no, I can tell.
Huh.
She's messing up again. Like, we're
Wow.
going to have to go get her. And so, like, I did not know these people. I did not know none of these people. My mama, there's a bunch of us that live in this house, and it's my mom's whole side of the family that I could barely remember from when I was little.
Yeah.
And God put it on their hearts to come get me way before I even come out here, and
That's
they have
amazing. Yeah.
done everything for me since I've been here.
That's amazing testimony within itself, right there. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, you've got a great head on your shoulders. So, I mean, that's something that you give back, and that's one of the things that I've avoided for so long in the rehabs. Not necessarily avoided, but the thing that I've really complained about is the shaming that goes on within
Yeah.
the rehabs and the 12 steps and stuff like that, and that's as we talked about, you should never feel like you're having to make a walk of shame to go, back and get treatment at the place you worked. Most of the guys that were peer support when I was at Revive they've all went back out, and most of them, not a lot of them are deceased now as well. And
Exactly. Because it's
that's
a thing that happens. And so,
yeah,
like, they always say, like, and I share it too, though, like, I recover out loud so that
you're
people
right.
don't have to die in silence. And that's like,
Sure.
that's why I try to be so transparent. I'm transparent to probably a fault sometimes. Like, some
Yeah,
things I probably don't need to share, but I will, because I know it will resonate with somebody. Somebody's going to need to hear it. Maybe not everybody didn't need to hear it, but there's that one person probably that needed to hear it.
there is. I've put these up before, and I guarantee somebody will write me in the next couple of days and ask me about you. It's an awesome positive view because you didn't get it down, and all this family comes back to you. That's just really cool to hear. I mean, in
Yeah,
general.
and that's a God
So
thing. So I used to dream about this when I was little.
okay,
My pastor that baptized me for the first time ever when I was like in the first grade, right before I moved to Arizona from Kentucky.
wow,
He still talks about it today because he actually married me and my soon-to-be ex-husband the summer before last, and he says, I'll never forget you coming to the altar and you in kindergarten and first grade and laying on that altar and crying. He said, you brought every man in that church house to their knees
wow,
because you were crying for your parents. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know who I was praying to. I didn't know nothing about the Bible. I just knew
yeah.
that, like, I wanted my mom and my dad better. Like, at that point, my mom wasn't even around,
And
and
you're so
I would just
young.
cry for them, And
Yeah,
then I would dream about meeting my mom again one day, like how great that would be to see my mom again one day. And now I'm here with her, and so it's
that's
super cool.
that's
She's
awesome.
super cool.
Yeah,
We probably get on each other's nerves. I get to act, I'm like, Mom. Anytime she comes over here, I like, use that word up. Mom, mom. So
mom, mom, mom,
yeah,
mom. I always say that when the dogs are following me around. They're like, dad, 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 or
yeah.
vice versa. So
Yeah, I
it's
burned it up
awesome.
though. It's my first time using it, so like I'm gonna
Hey,
wear it out.
I
You're
was
gonna
going to
hear it a
say,
lot.
you could sit there and take a calculator and figure out how many days you've been alive, and then multiply that times how many
And
times
that's
you
how
would
many
say it a
times I'm
day.
gonna say it.
Yep, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're feeling good now and everything. Or you have any depression symptoms, anything like that? Or
I do sometimes, but it's usually when I'm not pressing in, when I'm starting to focus on the poor pitiful me.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty good at like trying to, if I can get by myself long enough to be like, okay, why are you feeling this way?
yeah,
Have you prayed today?
Yeah.
You know, like, are you feeling sorry for yourself? Because probably you are.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's because you have to count if I can count my blessings and stuff, I do okay. Some days are not perfect and I get a little bit discouraged. Things haven't moved as fast as I'd like them to for this job
Yeah.
stuff. But I took my drug test yesterday. Be praying that my background check passes. I'm a little nervous about that, but
I'm sure you'll be fine.
yeah.
That's one of those things, and you're praying for it. I get it. I identify with some of the stuff you go through, but as I like to say, I don't think any of us can understand truly another's addiction because I believe it's a case by case basis.
It
And
is.
that's one thing that I really want to push for in the future is doing assessments more because I remember the last time I was in rehab, I was talking to, we were talking about detox or something in one of the, group meetings or classes, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And somebody told me that I didn't know anything because I was just a damn drunk. And I was like, man, you don't understand. Alcohol detox is pretty rough. So then
It'll
you
kill
get in that,
you.
yeah, and you get where people are competing over, who drinks the most, who had the
You've
worst
done more
detox.
drugs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And to me, that stuff gets, I've always said when I walk out of an AA meeting, because of my personality, that that's probably the one time I would feel like drinking. Um, just because it gets so, any kind of
Mm.
sharing groups, they get so competitive. And, that's never going to be functional. But, like a strong leader, if you think back to when you were in rehab, if you've got a clinician or even a peer support there that, led a group that didn't get out of control, those people generally care.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I look at it. So,
Yeah, and we had some of those, but like that was actually, and that probably helped us. That probably is what makes that program so good. We don't talk about our past. Like, it's okay to tell
okay.
your testimony. We don't give gory details,
Yeah.
because we don't want to trigger somebody, or they call it war stories.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
in. That's behind us. We're trying to move forward. We don't need to be
Right.
stuck in, because it does. It like brings up all those old memories, and
Yeah.
like it's just not. And it's okay to like not forget where you come from. I get that, because I still tell stories to some, if I feel like I need to. But
Yep.
early on in treatment, it can be detrimental, I feel like.
I
Talking.
think so too. And where you said triggers, I went when I was going through my own therapy. I went and faced everything that I would think would be a trigger. I had to write them all down and everything else for this psychologist. And from there, I started facing it. It's like one thing at a time, 1 month. Okay, now I'll walk in liquor barn today and see if it bothers me. And that's what I did. And slowly but surely, it's like I was out at Kroger, I think, last week somewhere, and I saw a 24 pack of Bud Light that were all UK cans. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm from Kentucky. So I'm able to buy that now, and it's still sitting in the same container unused. It
Yeah.
doesn't bother me. I'm allowed, I can be around alcohol. And people, the old method says that this, you can't recover. You'll always be in recovery, but you're not recovering.
Yeah.
So that's just a word play right there. But
Yeah.
how do you feel your chances are now to stay clean?
So my recovery, like I said, I probably sound very ignorant to some people because I've never worked the steps, but my recovery is solely in Jesus Christ, and I don't put
That's
him in a
awesome.
box. I
Yeah,
I've not had any withdrawals. Um, I've not had any cravings. I've gotten depressed a little bit here and there, like I said, that sometimes I
sure.
start getting discouraged, but like I believe I'm recovered. I believe I was recovered when I had 3.5 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
like I make some stupid decisions sometimes because I
Sure.
like self sabotage if I'm not
Yeah,
careful,
yeah. Yeah, I think I was the same way. I can't say that I was suicidal, but I can't say that I wasn't in the last months that I was drinking because
Yeah.
I knew I was getting worse. I knew my health was ridiculously bad, but I just didn't care. I'd keep the buzz, forget about it, go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm the same with you. Is I don't get cravings or anything anymore whatsoever. And I've developed, like coping skills throughout the thing. Like I never thought I'd be a 40-something-year-old man playing with Legos.
Yeah.
There's there's something that
Here
can
we
take
are.
yeah, there's something that can take you away from that thinking. I may
Yeah.
hop on the Xbox or something else. Those work for me, or play the guitars. It's something, and
Yeah.
that keeps my mind occupied in a way. And I do believe now, I didn't before, but I believe that cravings do last an average of 15, 20 minutes. So it's what we do with that 15 to 20 minutes that makes the difference.
Get
And
past it. Yeah. I have
yeah,
heard that before.
yeah. And I'm not giving you free reign here. You did relapse. So, I mean, that happens. Um, and it's the way you've handled it that makes somebody like me proud to know somebody like you is like, I can sit here and listen to what you're saying and take from it. And
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I'm taking my courses in addiction studies right now. And it's, I'm having to do that all day, every day. And,
Yeah.
then I think back because the main reason I really want to do all this is to get answers for me of what happened to me instead of blaming anybody else but me. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of why you've gotten sober yet again, and why I've stayed sober is it's because straight to God to you, straight to God to me, and then that's your meeting, that's your steps. Because
Yeah.
um, I remember when I first started praying, and then I ended up praying for 2 hours, and it's like, God, forgive me for this. No, wait a second, back up a little bit. And I kept going through until I was like, oh my gosh, how much do I got to be forgiven for?
Yeah.
At
A
one
lot.
you know, I was waiting for him to say, okay, come back next time,
Yeah.
But it's good to be able to self reflect and also be self aware enough to say, you know what, it's really cool, Olivia, that you don't make excuses about anything. You
Yeah.
just tell the truth. And the truth is, you did get a lot of trauma at once.
Yeah.
Could you have handled it differently? Sure. But you move forward and you're not looking backwards and saying shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't want to be ashamed of it. Do I hate it? I hate that it happened. I hate so much that I let that happen, but it did happen. And I just like, even then my heart is always like, it's a God-given gift. And sometimes
yeah.
it stinks. It stinks so bad having such a big heart like I do. But I
Mm-hmm.
always want to help people. Like because I know what it's like to be alone. I know what
Yeah.
it's like to be so depressed you can't get out of the bed and go to the restroom, to
Yeah.
not want to clean, to not want to take a shower, to be like, my mind was a prison at one time. I was homeless, and when I say that I was homeless, I was living on the train tracks with nothing but the clothes on my back. I didn't have a tent. I didn't have a boyfriend or a friend I was running the roads with. Like, I was by myself, and I wanted to die. I did
Yeah.
not want to keep going, but God,
Sure.
I couldn't kill myself. I
Right.
couldn't commit suicide. Because I would lay there and I think about my son, and I'm like, man, I bet he's missing his mommy right now. And like, I wonder what
Yeah.
he's doing. And I wish I was putting him on the bus this morning, and
Right.
just all that stuff. And so like, it kept me going, but God is who I talked to when I was like scared and walking. I didn't even know where I was at half the time. I couldn't tell you what county I was in,
Oh, wow.
and so like, I'm walking these roads with no idea, no destination in mind, looking for an abandoned house or somewhere I could sit down and take a break, barefoot most of the time,
Wow.
like just crazy stuff, and
Yeah.
alone. Nobody. I felt like nobody cared. Nobody would understand, just hopeless. And so
Right.
I don't want, it kills my heart to think that anybody else would feel the way I felt during those times. And if I could do anything at all to keep somebody from feeling that way,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do.
That's awesome. And that's what got me in the same place. But one little interesting thing that I learned along the way is I kept saying, I want to help this person. I want to help that person. Or, it's like when you see rehabs advertised, we're saving lives one at a time or something like that. I actually realized that we can't really help anybody, but we can assist God in the
And helping
helping.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if we put ourselves down a notch, I mean, that's what works for me because, as you can probably tell, I'm hyperactive, but occasionally I'll get on Facebook and I'll put a page long thing up cussing everybody out in the world. And then I'll go pray and he'll be like, take that down, man. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Instantly convicted.
Yeah, yep, yep, 100%. So I've quit using that send button as much,
Yeah.
and that helps me. So
Yeah. And that's what I mean by help too. I know that, like, man, if I could though, if I was a millionaire, honey, we'd
hmm
all have a house. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I would
yeah,
open a children's home, a
yeah.
homeless shelter that was run correctly, like all that good stuff. But I don't. And so, like, by helping people, I'm like, I just want to let them know that they're loved. You know, there's
That's
like plenty of
that's
people
right.
that I message almost every day, and I'm like, look, I love you.
Yeah,
You know, I just like, I care about you. Are you okay? Have you ate? Um, to some of the people that weren't so nice to me before I left, um, man, I pray for them. I pray for them. I pray, and I don't hate them. I have no hard feelings toward them. I
right.
think about them all the time, you know, and like I hope that they find their way out, and I hope that somehow I can be a light in their life, even from 2 states away. Like,
I think that's awesome.
people just need to be loved, you know, and to know that somebody cares. And not that I'm above any of them, because I'm not. Even sober, I'm not above them, you know. I just like,
Right.
I just love them, you know, and I don't know what I'm saying with that. I guess.
No, you're saying a lot of stuff that's really good because if you look back, what I used to post is it doesn't matter if we go by this old Bob Marley thing, one love. And, if we learned how to love instead of arguing, and I am somebody, of course, who will argue. I get so frustrated over the rehab situation in Kentucky that I'm pulling my hair out at times while I'm growing it out at the same time. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
me. And
I feel it. I was gonna say that too, though. Um, at rehabs, with peer supports, with anything that involves correcting somebody, that
sure,
because I've been corrected sometimes in some very harsh ways. And
right.
as somebody who's dealt with a lot of trauma in my life, or
Yeah,
addiction, most people, period, like, I shut down. If you come at me sideways, I'm shutting down. Like, it's over
yeah,
with. I can't even take bits and pieces of what you're saying and use them for my good, because you just like raised your voice at me, or you said something kind of like a backhanded comment to me. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And it should come out of love. If you could have been like, you know, talk to me like I was a human, I could have done something more with that, you know? And so I
yeah,
try to be mindful of that when I get frustrated. And
yeah.
I
It's
want to talk.
yeah, that's self awareness. So like I said, that's one thing I've got to work on. But I get so
Oh
boiled
yeah,
up
I'm not
about.
perfect at it yet either. I'm very passionate is what I
You
call
do you do a better job than me. How's that? But I think about it. When you were talking about peer support and stuff like that, that's one of my bones of contention right now. Is they're so easily handing out peer support certificates to everybody.
it. Yeah.
And now I know you were in there for 2 years. So this is something that I actually raised in a question. That I was going through on a paper with a professor of mine. And that is, do you feel like maybe you get institutionalized staying in the same place you went to rehab in? And
Yes.
by that, I mean it's the same people. You've got that safety net no matter what. Do you think that makes it easier for a relapse or?
If I would have stayed there, I don't think it would have, just because it's just ran different, I think, than a lot of other rehabs, because I hear of other rehabs, like, people are getting high and like failing their drug test. I'm like, how are you going to fail a drug test? Like, you couldn't have failed a drug test at our facility. Like, it would have been
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
close
yeah.
to impossible
That's
to
what
do.
overgiving.
But staying
That's
there, I
it.
think, is not for everybody, and I think that needs to be normalized as well. Like,
Okay.
if your sister or brother in Christ is like, feels like they're ready to go on and wants to do something different, encourage
Right.
them. Like, God cannot. I felt like when I first left, I was like, man, I felt like I left God, but I
Okay.
had to, like, that was the enemy. You know, I had to
Yeah.
realize God's not in a box. God's not only
No.
there. I can help people at this clinic. I can
hmm
help my neighbors at this apartment I'm moving into. Like, I can show Christ everywhere I'm at, you know, and it was me. I had him in a box, you know, I had
Yeah.
to, like, and so that was a little bit, I tormented myself with that. You know,
Sure.
I thought I'd messed up terribly. Like, I felt like he was far away from me. He wasn't there with me. Maybe was I messing up? I was
Yeah.
second guessing myself. And so, but I've come to learn that um, I just have a very close relationship with him. I'm not into religion
Yeah.
at all.
I'm not
I
either.
don't like religion. I can't stand it. I think it turns a lot of people, especially my generation and the generations younger than me,
Yeah.
I think it turns them off.
I think that started with my generation, and that was definitely a big thing throughout the '90s, and then come the
Yeah.
early 2000s. And you know, during those times, we had a lot of stuff. I'll share with you later. Like the church became so warped and crooked that it makes it hard to trust a church. But that's where, when you were talking about the rehab, you felt like you left God or whatever when you left the rehab. That's one thing that we fall into is worshiping like a building.
Yeah.
Like I've caught a lot of junk over the years from my opinions of Revive and Arc and lots of rehabs that I don't even think should be around. But that's me, and still a work in progress, as you said earlier. I think I got lost what I was talking about or confused.
Yeah, it is a work in progress.
Yeah, yeah, that's all I can say. But yeah, some stuff though, and know what I was getting at. It just gets me so boiled up. You know, it's hard to let go of. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
It
it's
causes, like, I think some people call it church hurt.
yeah,
It's like it's a traumatic experience sometimes when people that you love and you look up to so much and that you think so highly of, like,
yeah,
mess up. But that's also, like, I can blame myself at the same time for that because I'm idolizing somebody.
yeah. It
God,
falls
they're
hard,
not God. God is in them.
right?
Jesus lives in them,
Sure.
but they're not Jesus, you know? And so I'm
Mhm.
putting them too high up on a pedestal and putting me way down here when
Right.
Jesus is in me too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, we're supposed to just love each other and help each other and show Christ, you know? That's it.
Exactly. This is something that I mention a lot. I very rarely felt God in many churches I visited. And I don't want to lie about that. I'm just telling the truth because it's like, you know, if I went to a certain place in Lexington, I know that if I walked in there smelling bad, raggedy clothes and everything else, that I sure wouldn't feel welcome because, you know, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
But I did go to one out in Nicholson. I always talk about this guy, Dave Kibler. I don't know if you know him or not, but
I'm not for sure.
okay, he's a pastor in Nicholasville, believe it or not, at Catalyst, and I've actually felt it with him. So what I'm getting at is sometimes I may get like really down about something because I do live with depression, but then I'll go and attend Dave's church. It's the only one that I'll really go to in this area, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, sometimes that helps me. But I'm with you on the thing. Organized religion, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Am I
Like the
correct?
rules, all the
Yeah.
rules. Like, so, like I said, I went court ordered rehab, right? I got out of jail. I did relapse like almost a month being out of jail. And so
Yeah.
I was waiting on a court date and I was on MCR. So I was taking random drug tests and stuff.
Right.
But my mama had been trying to get me into rehab. That's her way of helping me. She doesn't mean anything by it, but like if she can send you off and let somebody else help you, she's gonna send you off and let
Yeah.
somebody else help you.
She's old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so she found one and she's like, Hope City, you know, your friend works there. And I was like, what are you talking about? So it's somebody I used to use with, who I saved her life one time when she overdosed. And so like
Oh,
she's always kind of thanked me for that. She used to hate me until that day.
yeah,
But she was like, she used to think I was with a cartel because I have this tattoo on my hip. Like she thought the feds was after her all the time. She was that person, you know.
I've
But
gone
now
through that. Yeah,
she's
I've
a
met
court
that person.
liaison now.
Yeah,
And so like she's a Casey's Law advocate.
awesome.
She went through the rehab I went through, and like she's still there, but she's just an amazing person inside and out. But I forgot where I was going with this because I have ADHD.
Yeah, so do I. But I get where you're going, and we can confuse each other. That's just the
Yeah.
way it is. So, you know, you were talking about advocate for Casey's Law, and
Yeah, but why did I start saying all that? Oh, wait, no, I still don't know. I cannot remember why I started saying
no,
that.
that's hilarious. The brain fog that comes along.
It's real.
Now, let me ask you this: did the thought of fentanyl scare you at all during all this, or?
And during my relapse?
Yeah, I mean, because I met with a lady in Nicholasville a couple of years ago whose son actually just was a pot smoker, wasn't really into any other drugs or alcohol, but his pot was laced with fentanyl and he died. And he was only like 31, 32. And I think about stories like that and how scary that can be.
Yeah. I've
Looking at it, huh?
I've seen it kill so many people, and so
Right.
like, and I hated it. Like, so I left my husband. And I got with um this other guy that I knew from the rehab, who he had just got out of jail, and that was kind of like, that ended up being a trauma bond. I'm not
Sure.
gonna that we were both in a horrible place in our lives at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
So, both of us in the wrong, whatever. But he got some heroin one night and brought it home, and I like flipped out. I
Okay.
think I tried to fist fight him and everything, because he was like trying to give it to people, some of our friends, and I'm like, you guys are all gonna die. Fentanyl, you know what I mean? But then he
Yeah.
ended up going to jail. My dad went to jail, and so there I was, homeless again. I couldn't even say, he got kicked out of the trailer park like right before he went to jail.
Okay.
And so I'm homeless again, you know, full-fledged on the needle again, and like didn't know what I was going to do. It was just a mess. So then I started dabbling in heroin
Okay.
here and there, which was
Yeah.
crazy because I hated it so much, because I knew it
Yeah.
could kill you. But then at that point, I kind of wanted to die. I started
That,
getting real careless with my life. You know what I
so
mean?
the urge and the trauma was stronger than the what you're doing is you weigh things on a scale when you're going through, addiction, especially if you're a physical addict, if you've been physically addicted and you're putting stuff up on a scale. What matters more, my life, getting high? Yep.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I can remember this with alcohol in my own situation, that I'd wake up shaking and freaking out and thinking I was going to die and start hallucinating. And that was, I think, at times that I think that I would rather die than go through that
Yeah.
again. Because I don't think people realize how bad it is. Now I've seen
My
heroin
dad has said
addiction.
the same things. And like, and I hate it too, because I hate his alcoholism, but I was every day almost, that was my goal, was to get him a half gallon of the cheapest vodka. It was like $12.
Right.
Barton vodka or something like that. But that's what he wanted every day. That was my goal, to get him that and a pack of menthol cigarettes, to like keep him not sick, because
Yeah. Yeah.
his withdrawals scared me. It was
Yeah.
like he was having a seizure, and like he would get deathly ill, and
Yeah.
I hated to see him sick and suffering. And he used to
Right.
he would tell me, the rehab he's at right now, he's like, I would rather die than go there. I'm not
Right.
going there, you know? And so like, he's sitting there now 2 months, and I talked to him a couple days ago, and like, he doesn't look like the same person. He doesn't talk like the same person.
That's awesome.
So,
I bet he feels a million times better. I mean, I know I
yeah.
can't remember how many times I've actually gone through alcohol detox, but it was a lot. No.
He's got cirrhosis now. He didn't tell me what level, or however the scale is for that, but he said he was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver.
Sure.
Which kind of
Which
new.
is,
It's pretty sickly, but
that only means, how much scarring tissue is in the liver. So,
yeah.
I mean, I've got what they call a touch of cirrhosis still. I'm always going to have a scar on my liver from my trip, but I've never drank again, and I don't use a lot of Tylenol and stuff like that. Like, I try and just little things, and they say I'm in the best shape of my adult life, Olivia, and that's crazy to think about now. So,
Yeah.
especially, how old's your dad now?
He just turned 50, I think. Just turned 50. Or maybe like 52.
So your dad's a young man. I get it.
Yeah.
Your dad's barely older than me.
Yeah.
So you go in there, and we're more of a hard case. Your dad's a Generation X, and I know for me, and especially getting in the cycle, your dad was in that same thing where somebody's got to make sure that I've constantly got a 1.75 of vodka, or I might fall out and die.
Oh yeah. If I just come back with a pint, like, we were boxing. I got to put my boxing gloves.
Yep. Yeah. He's gonna be mad. I mean, I get it, because when you get to that point, the best way to put it to you is you're scared, so much more scared to come down than you are to, drink yourself to death.
Yeah.
And I mean, one time I detoxed. The first time I ever alcohol detoxed, I got arrested for something. I don't even know what it was, but I mean, I was bad off. I got arrested for alcohol, I'm sure, alcohol intoxication or something. But started seizing out when I was in the Fayette County Detention Center and fell down a whole flight of stairs. And then after that, they just put me in a cell and locked me in. But I remember waking up and specifically fighting the light switch or something and thinking it was a R2D2 or something from Star Wars. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that was fun. I'll never stop drinking again. That's what, you get that in your head. God, it's not worth it. Then you'll say, I won't drink enough to end up that way again. But
Yeah.
then
And
you
I've
just
seen
keep
him
going.
like that. So like I knew that's probably exactly what he was thinking, but I was like
Yeah.
watching him kill it. This summer was like just very traumatic.
Bad.
I'm so
Yeah.
thankful to be. I would have never guessed that I would be in Georgia with the opportunities that I have now. Like Mickey, my aunt, and her family and her friends that her and her husband work with. We went on vacation with them. I got to go to Florida with them. Funnest vacation that first vacation I've ever been on. I've been on a few, but that was the first one I could relax and
That's
I could be
awesome.
myself. And like I have face tattoos. I don't know if you can see them. I
Yeah,
have face
yeah, I
tattoos.
know that.
And so like the fact that their church accepts me, like they never even batted an eye. Like they're
Yeah,
just like, I think I'm still the only one there with face tattoos,
sure.
but and their friends, like they're like, we all have passed. They've been so supportive. They're like, please don't run off because I've been depressed a little bit, and I'm like,
Sure.
I'm going back to
Yeah.
Kentucky, and they're like, that's so smart. And they're like, just stay here, and they're just super nice.
Okay.
So it's
That's
been
awesome. I
I went
mean,
from like being surrounded by people that wanted me to die, literally
yeah,
wanted me to die, only wanted the worst for me,
yeah,
to being surrounded by people who see my worth and tell me my worth and encourage me. So
yeah.
that's been everything.
That's awesome. It really is, and I love your story. And I love the fact that we both get so into what we're saying that we get
Forget.
confused. Yeah. Well, it's not just forget, we trip ourselves up because what we're thinking of is so important
Yeah.
that we trip over it and then we're like, what did I just trip over? So
Yeah.
I do that constantly. So, man, I always end this. I was going to say, we can do this as part one. Do you want to do it again next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Then we'll
I
make
can
that
do
a
it
part
next week.
one. And what I do is I got this, it's a daily devotional. And this has really helped me a lot, even though I don't do celebrate recovery because, I mean, it's just not my thing. But I always open it up to something, and whatever page it's on, I'll read it. Are you cool with that? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. This is Psalm 12. Oh, I'm not wearing my glasses. 121, 1-2, King James Version. And that is, I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. Okay. Now, there's a story that follows this. These devotions are like somebody different writes every one of them, and it's 365 of them. So, but like I said, I never pick out a page. I just open it up to whatever.
Okay.
So anyway, the writing is, I don't have time for this. I really think I'm fine. I have a lot going on right now. I just couldn't commit to something so big. I'm not as bad as those other guys. I'm too tired. I work a lot of hours. Those are just a few of the excuses I've heard from people who aren't yet ready to start changing their lives. George Washington Carver said 99% of the failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. Excuses keep us stuck where we are, and we become very good at using them. I am, for example, a pro at filling up my schedule. It makes me feel better about not doing some of the things I know I should do, such as spending more time with God or praying with my wife and family. In my old life, I never had trouble finding the time I needed to deny my character defects. Bitterness, resentments, worry, anxiety, fears, and addictive behaviors. However, I quickly realized I wasn't nearly as good at making time for my recovery. That's why I sponsor accountability sponsor. We'll go on past that one. And the prayer for this one is, Father, thank you for placing my friends in my life who will see through my excuses, um, that stall my recovery and keep me from becoming all you created me to be. Sorry,
That
some of
was
that.
fitting. I felt like you opened it to a good page.
It always ends up that
Actually, I
way.
love that Bible verse too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're good then. All right, Miss Olivia, I love talking to you. You're awesome, and we'll do it again next week.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me, giving me this opportunity.
Lord, your pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.